Hi, this is Eric, buyer of Old Vine, Texas, your premier Texas wine tasting room in DFW, featuring 100% Texas wineries from all over the state. We are located at 403 East Broad Street in Mansfield, Texas, inside of the Ancora Event Center. We have weekly tastings, charcuterie, pizza, plenty of wines by the glass, and live music. Our wine club brings you an extended taste of Texas and other great perks. You can visit our website at oldvinetexas.com to sign up for our newsletter, check our open hours, and see special events and classes and more. Or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Vine, Texas. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back to We Know Texas Vino, the podcast where we explore the people, places, and passions behind the incredible Texas wine industry. I'm your host, Will, and I'm excited you're joining us for another great conversation. Before we get started, I want to give thanks to Chris McIntosh for Edge of the Lake for graciously allowing us to come out here to have this podcast. Their hospitality and beautiful settings and commitment to Texas wine has made this a perfect place to sit down and talk all things about Texas vino. If you're in the area, be sure to stop by here at Valley View and enjoy a glass and experience what makes this winery a special place. So today, I have a special guest. His name is Jesse Garrett. He is a respected Texas wine blogger, which I actually found out a while ago. He was also a Virginia wine blogger. We'll talk about that later. Whose passion is for discovering wineries and sharing the honest reviews and telling the stories behind Texas wine has helped to introduce countless people to our growing wine community. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you for having me.
So in this episode, we're going to talk to Jesse about his journey into Texas wine. And before the show, like everybody knows, we had this conversation and finding out about this man, he's a very fascinating man. We're going to talk about Texas wine, why people should love it, places to go, things to drink, and whether you're just a beginner at Texas wines or you've been doing this for years now, this guy right here will be your gateway. Just like I've been your gateway for all these years, he's going to be your gateway as well. So pour a glass of your favorite Texas wine, sit back and relax, and let's jump into this show. Again, thank you, Jesse, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get deep into this, I was telling you that you're like the chupacabra. I couldn't find you anywhere and try to contact you, and then found out that you were at Drink North Texas, and you made contact with a whole bunch of people, and finally got hold of somebody that could give me your number, and here we are. And guys, at the end of the show, we'll talk about as blog stuff, but this man is very fascinating. He has a good, interesting introspect of Texas wine. I hope I use that word correctly. I'm an IT guy. We don't speak language. So before we get started, Jesse, before you got into doing wine, what was you doing before then?
So I was corporate chef. That's actually what brought me out to Dallas. And, I'd been in the wine industry, the food industry for quite a long time. Prior to coming to Dallas, I'd just recently gotten out of the military. During the military, I didn't share this with you prior to, but I was actually a general's aide.
Okay.
So what that is a personal chef. I was a personal chef for a 3-star general.
Wow.
I was actually 20 when I got that gig.
Wow.
So I had a lot of people angry that a 20-year-old got to have that job, because typically it's for the guy who's been in, or for the lady who's been in for 20-something years,
right,
close to retirement, and they get to have that job.
So you must have made some good food to get that job.
It was a circumstance that happened where somebody got injured. They were basically, peeling some vegetables or something. They sliced their whole hand. So they cut the tendons in their hand, and they were going to need a long-term rehabilitation. So it was like somebody had to step in immediately. And it was a little bit of it was a couple of us, and right, I ended up getting the gig. But, I always joke, that, I was 20 years old when I was doing this, but, the job has you not just their personal chef, but for any kind of entertainment. So
right,
whether it's generals from other countries or politicians or what have you, they're having these meetings all the time.
Wow.
So unfortunately for me, it was very embarrassing being 20 because I couldn't buy the wine for these events. So I'd have to ask the general's wife to go with me to the grocery store to buy the wine for the events. And then when we had it, I could taste it and we could pair some and do some things. So I've been doing it for a long time.
Wow.
I wouldn't say I haven't really appreciated wine until the last maybe 10 years or so.
Oh, okay.
But that's kind of how everything started because I had to.
Right.
Right. Like you don't get a choice in the military.
Right. Yeah. So that's interesting. So you started out 20 in the military, became basically a personal chef for a high-ranking general, and then you did. Well, how many years did you do in the military?
So I did 6. That was kind of like my second stop. My first stop was in Korea. That was an interesting year as well. But after moving on from Fort Monroe, Virginia, which is kind of where generals are over to retire, I moved to Fort Eustis, and I was ended up being the only food service personnel that deployed with a unit that should have a lot more people. So I deployed with a military police unit that everybody something got leaked and where we were going. And this was during the surge.
Okay.
So people would rather get out of the military than go where we were going. So
right.
Instead of deploying with about 200 and a quarter, we left with about 150.
Oh, wow.
So when we left, it was kind of like everybody realized it didn't matter what your job was, you're going to be kicking in doors.
Right.
So that was kind of the next 2 years. Okay. You're deployed 16 months.
I'm just going to say this. I just had this image just come in my head. You talk about kicking indoors and you got a spatula in your hand. I'm sorry.
So the funny thing about that is I have a friend who kind of said, I kind of told him some stories years ago. And he's like, man, this sounds familiar. He's like, you ever seen Under Siege with Steven Seagal?
Exactly. I wasn't going that far.
It's pretty close, But no, that's always been the running joke, but it's not as much of a joke as I'd like for it to be. But yeah, so that did about 2 years of that, and then a little bit of time left. I was stop loss just to get out before that time ended, but ended up having to put in quite a bit more time just because of stop loss, but. Got out, and it's kind of a weird situation because it's like, all right, what do I do now? I've got half of a degree that I've taken along the way. So I kind of did the college thing, did the culinary school thing. It was weird because I had all this experience. One thing I didn't talk about was in the middle of my 16-month deployment, I got tasked to go run the largest dining facility in Iraq.
Oh, wow.
In 2008. And we fed 25,000 meals a day.
Holy crap.
So when you actually extrapolate the numbers for the amount of food and value that I was in charge for at any time, it's something like 9 figures in today's money.
Holy cow.
Like when somebody hears that a 24-year-old did that, they're like, I can't hire you. You're way overqualified. It took me a long time to find a job when I got into the military.
Right.
So luckily the GI Bill kind of worked out. I got to go to school and until I could find something. So I got, business degree, I got my culinary degree, and then, kind of jumped into, back into food service. And then that's what drove me out here was Florida's really struggling.
Right.
It took them a long time to get out of that bad economy. And that's kind of why I came to Dallas. I came out here. I'll tell you if you want to know an interesting story.
I'm always down for a story.
So I came out here to do some interviews. I had a connection with an entrepreneur, and we met. And then he said, "Hey, go home 2 weeks. I'm going to fly you back out middle of the week, and I'm going to have you cook for some friends." So he flew me out. We'd already pre-planned a menu of some different things I was going to do. It was going to be 8 different entrees, some different salads, just kind of like a big thing. And I would serve it all. It was about 15 people or so, something like that. And we were going to do it, and then I'd be on the jet the next day, right? Flew in on the red eye and met with him early in the morning, and he basically said, "Yeah, we're going to scratch the whole menu. This is what I want to see." I had 2 hours to shop, 5 hours to prep and cook before everyone arrived, and I put the whole thing on. Literally did the whole night. By 10 o'clock, obviously, I'm just swamped, right? The next day, 5 a.m., I'm at the door. And then about a month later, they said, "All right, when you coming?"
Wow.
That's basically how I got the job.
Wow. Well, I mean, if you could do that, if they scrap a whole menu and you can prep it and have it ready to go, you're going to get a job out of this whole thing. Yeah. Wow. That's impressive. So you came to Texas.
But before that, well, let's talk about your little stint in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about, how you got into this whole wine blogging, and you said you did Virginia wine. Kind of talk about the Virginia wine industry, because we're going to use that later on in the conversation.
So, some years back now, I would say I'm from Virginia. I was born in North Carolina, but my parents were military. So we moved around. We spent 4.5 years in Puerto Rico, time in Florida, but I graduated from high school in Virginia.
Okay.
So I kind of say that's where I'm from. And I also was stationed there multiple times. And being stationed there, I knew about the wineries, right? Like my friends would go, I would go, I knew about it. And we were just looking for kind of a weekend, not really a weekend. We were kind of looking for a little bit longer getaway one year. And I said, hey, let's go to Virginia. I'll take you to some wineries, take you some good ones. We'll have some fun. Because my wife has always been really big into wine. And we went, and it was just everything was better than I remembered, right? It was kind of one of the things where I was having a better time than my wife was, and that was still my wife. I was like, man, this is a lot better than I remembered. And then it was like, all right, let's come back next month. And then we started coming back every other month, and we'd visit 10 new wineries over a weekend. And then that's what we kind of did for about 3 years straight. And, Virginia now has 400 wineries. When we started, they had just under 300, but we'd reached almost 200.
Wow.
So we kind of did that in like a 3.5 year span.
Okay.
So we've been doing this whole, we're going to try 500 wines, and we're going to try, 50 wineries. We don't even live here.
Right.
But we're just this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we kind of fast forwarded to 2026, and it's like, all right, I'm hearing some good things about Texas wine. I hadn't quite seen it yet. So it's time to explore here. And I was like, well, a lot of people were impressed with what I was doing in Virginia. Let's see how Texas reacts to it. And then we started in January, and halfway through, we're on pace for about 120 wineries, about 800 wines, 850 wines tasted. So
you're hitting those numbers where I'm at.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so we don't want to go too far into that yet. We want to keep those conversations separate for a second. So, all right. So you finally got a job here in Texas. You become a chef down here. You enjoy it. So what was your first true interaction with Texas wines? You didn't know anything about Texas wine industry at all. You're down here cooking. What was that first wine that you found that was Texas, and you're like, holy crap? In
a bad way or a good way?
Either way.
Okay.
Either way.
Fair enough.
Either way.
I'd probably say I didn't get out much because I was always working.
Mm-hmm.
But probably 2018, I had a couple of Texas wines, and I said, this is off. This is not something I'm interested in. And I would say over time, it's like you kind of keep trying something new because it's in front of you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, this is not good. No, this is not good. No, this is not good. And I kind of quit. And that's when we went back to Virginia. We started doing the Virginia wine trips.
Okay.
And then last year, I would say at Texon, we were having a lot of spirited conversations about Texas wine. And there was some being poured. And I said, okay, I kind of see what you're talking about. I'm not quite there with you, but I've got an open mind,
mm-hmm.
and if you give me some suggestions, I'll go check them out. And that's kind of how this became. Okay.
So do you remember what the very first bad Texas wine you had, what kind of varietal it was? Don't say the winery, just what kind of varietal it was. And then do you remember the varietal that you drank? You're like, oh, okay, now this is a little bit better than what it was. Because I remember mine.
So it was Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
It was very, very underripe.
Okay.
Right. Like it's going to happen here in Texas.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah.
I think the thing that really spoiled me was not only was it underripe, it was like $70.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh man.
Oh.
I was like, wow.
So, okay. Again, not giving out any names. Was it a North Texas winery? Was it a Hill Country winery?
North Texas winery.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have an idea then. And it's not bad because their wine game has changed.
Yes.
Your wine game has completely changed.
For sure.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we won't talk about that anymore. So, before we go any deeper, do you have any wine certifications?
All kinds.
Okay.
All kinds. times. So I've actually been through Cornell's winemaking program.
Okay.
And I'm a W7. So
One, two, just one. Okay.
I'm very funny about certifications and the like, just because I've always done everything backwards. I was a personal chef for a 3-star general, right? There's no point in going through all the other stuff.
Right.
I have the experience.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of the same thing with wine was like, a lot of people understand that, it takes about 10,000 hours to become an expert in this. And you want to spend $1,500 on basically memorizing something for a test, or do you want to spend $1,500 on wine?
Right.
Right. Like, because you can't do both.
Right.
So that's the way I looked at it. It's like, I get it just to do it. And then just to confirm that this wasn't the way to go for me. It's not for everybody, right? Like, everybody's different. And what I love about wine is everybody has their own path. And regardless of how you take that path, you can still be successful.
Yes.
So that's just not my path. I'm the guy who's I'm going to spend the money on the wine. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to have the conversations with people because I'm not scared to put myself out there.
Right.
So
for sure. And you have to.
Exactly.
If you want to get notoriety, you got to shove yourself out there. You got to be in that limelight. So, okay. Now with all that being said, so that way people can understand where we're going for these next couple questions. So you tasted some bad Texas wines and you come back and you taste some good Texas wines. So is most so far your Texas wine experience been up here in North Texas, or have you been down to the Hill Country yet?
So actually I've had 3 trips down to the Hill Country this year. Okay. They were our first trips down there. I would actually say we visited more Hill Country wineries now than North Texas. Okay. We've been to every single North Texas Winery Association winery. Like I said, we're at 56 now. But again, by the end of this week, we'll have another 14 new to us wineries. Okay. So we're always traveling. We're always looking. Nice. Okay. After the show, I want to invite you to a place. Okay. Not in 2 weeks. Right. In 2 weeks. Okay. So obviously you visit a lot of wineries across the state. So of these visits you have, which experience have you had that made the biggest impact on your love for Texas wine now? That's a really tough thing. I immediately want to say Siboney, just because Miguel is very close to my heart. Yes. Barbara's a fantastic winemaker. Miguel, we converse a lot. Miguel, this one's to you, buddy. But, I feel disappointed because I know how hard Chris works here for us, right? Here Thursday night, he gave us some pre-release stuff. So it's like, I feel awful for leaving him out. But I'll tell you, as far as like a first visit, Miguel left a lasting impression that, you meet him once and he can pick you out of a crowd. Right? And it's just like, how in the world can you do that? And I've taken my mom, my stepdad, I kept telling him how amazing this place was. I told Becca how amazing this place was. And now it's a place that we have to go to. Anytime we go to the Hill Country, recording shows, we have to schedule a day where we just go to Siboney. Yeah. I mean, from the Cuban sandwiches to the empanadas, to the cigars, to the white wines, to the red wines, to even their ports they have. Oh my gosh. And the scenery, when you get on their patio, as long as it's not 900 degrees outside, that patio is absolutely phenomenal. It's tough to pick where you want to sit. You want to sit upstairs in the member area in that 50s chic lounge. You want to sit in the barrel area. You want to go up top outside, be on the terrace. Like, there's not a bad seat in the house. Oh, no, there's not. It's absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, if you've not heard the story about how they got started, that Oak Grove coming in was where they actually had their faux tasting room. So that's always a great story. Yeah, Siboney is my favorite Hill Country winery to go to every visit. Now, I have other ones also I love to go to visit to, but Siboney is one that I have to go to just because I love the cigars and I love the Cuban sandwiches. And that's what we do. We bookend it. We show up on Thursday for the Cuban sandwich. And on Sunday, it's the wine club member event. So that's the last event before we leave. So my gosh. I knew that I liked you a lot, man. Oh, yeah. We got some similarities there. So, okay. So
what that was the Hill Country. What about the North Texas one? What's kind of your experience there? Now that we've already kind of broke the ice on the whole Texas region, what now in the North Texas? Which one is your best experience up here so far?
So if I talk about experience, because I love it here at Edge of the Lake. But as far as experiences, you're not really experiencing anything like it. You're coming here for a tasting or what have you,
right.
wine, and then the view is great, looking at the lake. But as far as experience, I would say it's Red River Wines. You know, I love KK. And Andy and Scott. They're fantastic.
Uh-huh.
You know, the first time I went there, it was for a wine trail passport. You know, I did a kind of a little competition there with my blog, and they won. And they won because you get a little bit of a tour. You get all this extra stuff that's not part of the wine trail, but
right.
it's just who they are.
Yeah.
And, you know, the wines are fantastic. I've helped them bottle twice now, right? So, you know, I just met them in February. I've helped bottle twice, and, you know, we're regulars.
Right.
So
KK is an amazing person. In fact, she was actually been my mentor. She's still one of my mentors for my making process. So I always hit her up and ask her questions, and she will give me the honest opinion. She doesn't fluff it. In fact, actually, everybody in the North Texas has been my mentors, and they don't fluff it. You know, they tell me how it needs to be done. And yes, I love KK to death. Her experiences when people go out there and do a tasting, she has you a little bit of little snacks to try with her wine and stuff, so you could taste the difference, how the wine will taste before and then afterwards. And I love that kind of stuff. And I think for people to understand Texas wines, I mean, everybody drinks California wine. I mean, you can go to the store and get you a California wine or a Washington wine or an Oregon wine, but people buy that just to drink it. But drinking wine is actually an experience. It's not just sit at the table and chug it as fast as you can. But I love those experiences. Those are like one of my favorite things to do is those experiences.
she had Red River had a Tempranillo tasting event in March.
And we missed it.
Yeah, they had multiple vintages of Tempranillo, you know, different aging methods where it was stainless.
Oh, that's right. We did do that.
French, American barrels. So, and then the bourbon barrel as well.
Oh,
so they got to taste all the way through
yes.
the full portfolio. And again, with the little bites, different everything. And it was such an amazing event. And unfortunately, it was on a Thursday. But I'll tell you, at 10 o'clock at night, nobody was ready to go.
Yeah.
But it's like, we still got an hour drive plus home, you know, we got to work tomorrow or whatever, but nobody wanted to go home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's how KK does it. She's very inviting, and she brings everybody in, you know.
For sure.
So of all the Texas regions, wine regions, which one do you think deserves more attention? Because everybody knows High Plains. But which one we're not talking about AVAs. We're just talking about the regions. So there's 5 major regions in Texas. So of those 5, which ones do you think is really underrated that actually should be lifted up more?
Of course, I'm going to be the homer and say North Texas. Just this area because unfortunately, everything's so spread out, so it's really hard. Like I kind of talked about this on my wine trail. It's like the average winery was 62 miles away, and that is just unfortunate. But I feel like with where the folks are, especially like Rancho Sereno, Red River, here at Edge of the Lake, you know, their grapes are in prime. You know, they're old enough. Right. Producing great fruit. The winemaking's fantastic. Like Chris here at Edge of the Lake, he's got 40 wines. And they're all at a high level. Right. They are fantastic wines. And he's just doing a great job. But again, the estate wines from this area, and I'll actually go to RK. The Chardonnay at RK is off the charts.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I love a Chardonnay with a good minerality, salinity, you know, that wet rock. Right. And that's what it is. And it is absolutely fantastic.
Yep. I tell a lot of people that, you know, you drink, California has made Chardonnay where if you want it buttery or oaky, you want to try it for what it really is. You know, you don't want a mass characteristic. You want to taste what it is. And I tell everybody to go over here to RK or next time you're in the Hill Country, go to Adega Vino.
That's on my neck. They're number one on my neck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But even I feel awful because I just left out Christy at Lonesome Vine. I think Christy is a fantastic winemaker.
Mhm.
You know, she does a lot of things that I would not normally like. She uses more new oak than I prefer.
Right.
Like if this is my rules to wine, 90% of the time they're accurate because I've tasted thousands of wines. But when somebody has a style that I don't normally like, I like all of your wines, you're the exception to the rule. So you're doing something very special, right? So she has my
Oh my
attention.
gosh, that's funny. Well, like I said earlier, we know Texas Vino and Lonesome Vine. We all started within a month of each other, so we're kind of the same age. And I've watched them grow. In fact, actually, when you said you listened to their episode, did you listen to the new one or did you listen to the very first? Okay, go back and listen to the very, very first one. And so you've been in their tasting room.
Yeah.
And so you know where the bar is?
Mm-hmm.
Where that bar is and the bathroom is, that used to be just the tasting room. That was it. And they said, oh, we'll never expand this. Well, since I've known them, they've expanded 4 times.
I said yes.
4 times. And so the other day we were in there and I said, are y'all going to expand again? And Andrew goes, no. Christy's like, maybe.
I believe
But
it.
they're absolutely phenomenal. Go back and listen to that episode. People, if y'all haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to that episode. That's like episode 10 or 12, something like that. Excuse me. But again, great people. They have come a long ways in their winemaking also. In fact, actually, if you want a bottle of Smitten that they don't have anymore, it's $500. I'll get you a bottle. We literally we just bought a big wine rack, 140 bottle wine rack. And I had brought over 15 cases of wine from my house. And like she pulls out Smitten. We filled up a whole row of Smitten.
That's amazing.
It's a horrible wine. You don't want to drink it. I'll save you the trouble.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. So how has Texas wine changed since you started writing about even tasting your first one and then you started writing and tasting to now? How has it changed? How has not only the winemaking style, but even the terroir for them, even the bottling, because even the bottling has a big difference on the way the wine tastes.
Sure. So I would say at first, I think that especially, and there's still a lot of this happening now. I think there's a lot of over oaking going on. I think there's too much trying to be California. I think you need your own personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are with this push to be Texas fruit, Texas wine, 100% Texas, that attitude is finally coming through, where previously nobody knew what they really wanted to be.
Right.
They just kind of wanted to make money, and they didn't know how to get to the best stuff.
Right.
I think that right now people are making fantastic wine. It's showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Decanter was a big deal, right?
That was a big win for Texas.
A really big article about that, and there was an interesting reaction to that, because if you look at the kind of the top line level, and you look at the title of the articles about how well they did, it doesn't really give true credit to how good it really was.
Yeah.
And that was kind of something I talked about, but it was kind of like, we really need to promote this a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Decanter was a big win for Texas. I think that was let's take a step back. James Suckling coming to Texas 3 times and grading Texas wine. That helped a lot. And then the big win at Decanter, or even the big win at San Francisco Chronicle Awards was a big win for us. And then Decanter was just like the nail in the coffin. I think now people around the world, not just California, Washington, Oregon, sees that we have stuff here and we are coming out swinging. We're not just taking strikes. We're swinging now and we're hitting for the fences.
I will say that it's definitely true, but I'm going to quote my good friend, the Wine Fairy from North Texas. And, she made a comment that is very, very good. It's a great description about Texas wine. Sometimes you got kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. You got to get through it.
Wine Fairy. Okay, I'm trying to figure out who that is now because I remember somebody telling me that quote, and I'm trying to remember who it is now. Holy cow, man! Like literally, you should see my Rolodex right now rolling in my head right now. I'm trying to remember who said that. Yeah, that's funny, wine fairy.
I'll share that with you.
Okay.
She's a fantastic writer, but she's a big, she's actually what brought me to get serious about Texas wine.
Okay.
Do what you did in Virginia, do it here.
Okay.
And see what happens. And I'm glad I did. Like, I've taken her advice on that.
Yeah.
It's
well
very interesting.
The one thing, I worked for Landon for many, many years, and that's where I got my love for Texas wine from. Started off there, and then it just kind of just exploded in my world. And I worked for Landon for many, many years. It was one of my favorite jobs to go and just talk to people and introduce people to Texas wine. And one of my favorite things was hearing people come in like, oh, we like big, bold California reds. And I was like, well, you're not going to get all that here, and I tell them, well, this is a Texas winery and stuff. And I would introduce them to Texas wines. And they're like, oh, Texas wines is going to be horrible. So I wouldn't even tell them what it was I was pouring. I'll just pour them something.
Yeah.
And they're drinking it like, wow, this is amazing. And I'll introduce them to Texas Pinot Noir. They're like, wow, this is amazing. Texas Tempranos, Tannats, that kind of stuff. And I skip over cabs. Cab is everybody's teddy bear. I'm sorry. You come in, you say, I want a cab. Not today. You're not on my shift. You're not drinking a cab because it's where you're comfortable at. You're in that rut right there. Jump outside the rut, experience something. And doing so, people got to drink what Texas was. And then, a lot of the locals, I would tell them, oh, you need to go to this winery and this winery and this winery and try this stuff. And then they would come back and like, oh man, we went to XYZ winery and we had a blast. The wines were phenomenal. Thank you for introducing this to us. A lot of times people get stuck in a hole and don't want to try things. And it has to be someone kicking you out of the hole to get you to try something.
It's not just that. It's the more you're open with wine, I've had a very interesting thing, and I haven't gotten to writing this post for my blog, but I've had it happen twice in probably like a 1 month span where friends, kind of like how you talked about before the podcast started, was, I used to drink sweet wine, and then I found Tempranillo, and it was like, oh, and then your wine palate opened up, right? And I've had that happen with two friends recently where they had the Petite Syrah at Simonet in late April, and it's fantastic, right? They're like, whoa, maybe I do like dry wine. And then we brought some folks here, and
the Texas grape again.
He's dubbed himself the Grenache guy because he loves hogwash, rosé, he loves the Youngblood Grenache, he loves the steak Grenache. He's like, load it up. I'm the Grenache guy. He's like, but when people realize,
that's a good question. I know there's a lot of chatter about the Texas White Oak.
This is what brought me to the dry wines, and you can see it happen. Like it is.
We need to see what it looks like. I think it's too early to tell. I think that's the biggest thing.
That's kind of what happens.
Because again, I'm not looking for trends. I'm looking for what's good. And I'll give an example. The Spicewood 2022 Los Montañas that just got the gold medal. Somebody gifted that to me the day before the decanter results were released. So I got absolutely lucky. I heard the decanter results came out the next day, and a couple days later we tried it, and that wine blew me away. Okay. Right. And I really don't know what to say about it. Like it is. I very rarely rate wines at 95 plus, but I'm like, I don't know if I can argue with that 95-point rating. Right. I will also say Tannat is very funky in Texas. You can over oak that thing and pull out way too many tannins, right? Because it's already a very tannic grape.
Very tannic. Yes.
So, I don't know about this Texas white oak. I already know Texas can over oak a lot of grapes, right? So we'll see what that looks like. Right. And I would really say wait and see. And I'm very funny about my oak. I'm very on the KK Hartman, I'm not looking to over oak anything. I want it very minimal.
Right.
I want to taste the fruit.
Right.
I don't want to go into a lot of tertiary flavors right off the bat. I want to, you grew this fruit. Let me taste it.
Yeah.
I don't want to taste the barrel.
Right.
So that's kind of my thought process. That's very Virginia.
Right.
That's where that side comes out of me. It's like they're growing fantastic grapes. What makes their grapes fantastic is it's virgin terroir. And that's kind of what people talk about. It's like, the oldest vineyards out there from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
So it's very young land,
Right.
and the nutrients are there.
Okay.
That's what I think makes their wine so great.
Mhm.
Where here, I would say the same thing. It's like, you can make great wine. Like Chris here is making great wine.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of proof.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with you. Have you been over here to 555 and had their Cabernet Sauvignon? And
Yes, I have.
And what did you think about that?
Pretty good wines. You know, I'll probably tell you that I'm going to be honest here. That'd be very candid. They're not my biggest fan.
Uh-huh.
Had a little bit of a miscommunication at one point.
That's
and that's just what it is. Unfortunately, it happens. But I think their wines are pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I've never had an issue with their wines.
Did you try their cab that was in the white oak?
No, I have not. I was very excited because I know this is going to be their first harvest that they're going to make wine from. So I was very looking forward to, kind of working with that and seeing how it came out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe we can mend that relationship. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Tom and Whitney are great people.
Sure.
I mean, and we've had the same issue ourselves. And, we apologized, kissed and hugged, made up, and we were good,
Sure.
I know that Tom allowed us to try the cab in the white oak like months before it was ready to release. And I know that Becca's eyes rolled in the back of her head and she became a whole different person.
Sure.
I didn't know who she was for like 10 minutes, So we were going to go out there for the release, but we had stuff going on in our personal life that we couldn't go, So we're fixing to make our way out there and try it, actually get a bottle of it. So, this is a really good question also. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people feel about Texas wines?
Misconceptions. I think that this is a really good question, and I was guilty too. So I want to, I'm a very honest person. A year ago, I had nothing good to say about Texas wine.
That's fair.
And it's because I'd been burned.
Right.
I'd been to places where it's just like, this is awful. It's like, okay, I'll try somewhere else. It's awful. I'll try somewhere else. It was awful, but I wasn't trying the best places. Right. And that was kind of the situation. Is like, you find a group. It's like, well, this is awful, but we're also from somewhere else. Right. We had friends from Washington. Right. I didn't think Washington wine was that great either because you buy it in the store. Right. It's like anything in the store is not that great.
Yeah.
But then they're wine club members and they're from Washington. They just happen to live here now and they're opening bottles of stuff. And it's like, wow, that's the best Washington wine I've ever had. And then I'm opening up stuff from Virginia. It's like, whoa, where did Virginia come from? And so that was the thing is like, we've all been burned by a Texas winery. We have.
We all have been burned.
And I think the misconception is that you can't be burned because some folks, maybe they tried the good wineries, right? Like maybe they've been to a Dega Vino, maybe they've been to Simonet first,
right?
And man, they were lucky, right? Like, cause it's easier to go out and spread the love when your first couple of hits were great.
Right.
If they weren't, it's like, man, I don't know if I want to do that. Right. So you're a little hesitant. And I'll tell you on my blog, I get people that reach out all the time. It's like, hey, when's the next time you're going to be here? Or when's the next time you're going to be here? Because they've been burned. That's the first thing they say is like, I didn't have a great experience here or here. I was like, when is the next time you're going to be at Red River or Edge of the Lake or wherever? And that's why I always try to say, hey, follow me on Instagram. You can see where I'm at. Or, I'll try and let you know through the newsletter. Right. This is where we're going to be. These are the dates, etc. Feel free to reach out.
Right. That's cool. I tell you, a lot of the misconceptions I've heard, one is Texas wines is not good, which is what we've already covered. Or I've heard people say Texas wines are too sweet.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
And I kind of, now that part right there, I kind of defend just a little bit on that because people don't understand the difference between wine that's sweet and wine that's fruit forward.
Yes. I would agree with that. In Texas.
In Texas, yes.
In Texas, yes.
In Texas, because our wines can be very fruit forward.
Correct.
Especially if it's like a Mourvèdre. Like for me, Mourvèdre done right can be very fruit forward. And you're like, wow.
Yes.
I'm getting funny feelings on this, What was another one that I actually, Texas Pinot Noir, I found is very fruit forward.
Yep.
A lot of people say, oh, this is too sweet for me. Well, it's not sweet. They said, yeah, it is. No, it's dry. It's less than 1% residual sugar on it. And when I explained all that for them, they like, oh, you literally see the light bulb just go off. It's because they don't understand it.
This is actually a really good comment because one thing that I did with Virginia wine, one of my favorite grapes is Petit Manseng.
Okay.
And the reason for that is it's so flavorful. You get big time stone fruit, a big bright pineapple to it, but it's 100% dry, but it tastes sweet. So I call it the gateway wine. So if I'm trying to move somebody who's a sweet wine drinker over to dry, the first thing I pour them is Petit Manseng. They're like, yep, keep bringing it. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. They have no idea it's a dry wine, right? And so yeah, no, you're 100% right, especially here in Texas. There's a massive knowledge gap.
Yeah.
And people are trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. And I don't think anybody's being successful with that.
Well, and that's what like I was telling you right before the show, I love educating people.
For sure.
I love helping people out because you know what? I was there too. And I'm just going to say this out loud and I may get some flack on this, but California has made wine pretentious and snobbery. If you don't come in with your pinky finger already up and already knowing what wine you're fixing to drink and the way it's supposed to taste like that, people just didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I personally, I want that person that is not very familiar with wine. I want somebody to come in and has no knowledge about wine because they're scared about it and come in and get educated. And then they come back and they feel more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not proud, but more knowledgeable. It's like one I'm looking for. They just come in, they feel more confident. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
They feel more confident to go in and ask for wines. And I always tell them, don't be afraid to try something. You may not like it right off the bat. I said, when I drank Tannat for the very first time, I hated Tannat. Why? Because I drank a Tannat that was very earthy.
Yes.
And I didn't like that taste.
For sure.
Literally, kid you not, that following weekend, I drank a Tannat from Rustic Spur down in Hill Country. She poured it for me and I drank it and it was very fruit forward. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? She goes, this is our Tannat, estate Tannat. And we've been aging it for like 10 years. And I'm like, holy cow. And that's where I actually started falling in love with Tannat also. But that's where I started understanding more about the fruit forward and having to teach people about that because a lot of people didn't know that. So yeah, I agree with you. People just need more education on it.
For sure.
Which we actually just covered this next question. If someone is trying Texas wine for the first time, what wines or wineries should they actually start with? And let's actually, have you been to East Texas yet?
That's actually on the list for next month. As soon as we get closed in the new house, that's not going to actually be, we already have a list and an itinerary set up.
I'm going to give you a name of somebody.
Probably Keepersall. Yeah, I got the list. I got the list. Trust me.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yes.
2 weeks, you need to come with us if you can.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be in East Texas, and we'll talk afterwards.
For sure.
Because there is one place, man, I'm just going to say.
I bet I know it. I bet it's on my list.
Okay, we'll talk afterwards. I don't want to spoil it, everybody, okay? Because this is an amazing place. But, okay, so let's just do for North Texas and the Hill Country. What wines and wineries should people start with when they just come into wines?
So it's a tough question because I got to understand the person's palate first. And I would probably pour them a few wines or ask them what they have had. But I'm always going to defer to KK at Red River just because, especially North Texas, just because her winemaking style is exactly how I would make wine.
Right.
And so I'd start there and then I would see what the response was. I know the response is going to be fantastic because she makes fantastic wines, right? So then it would kind of be like Edge of the Lake, right? For North Texas, and Lonesome Vine. Those would be my top three. I think those are on a level that there's a little bit of separation, right? For how many wines and what they're doing and at the level they're doing it. Now, as far as like down south, first question I would ask is like, especially, are you female? Are you male? What have you? I'm sending somebody to Eliza Christopher, right? Because number one, she spent a lot of time in Virginia and we had lots of conversation about Virginia wineries, but she talks my language and, we're actually going there this weekend to do her sparkling event, the new release. So I'm 100% excited about that. But,
I'll put in my order.
no, for sure. Hey, Chris did. So I've got like 4 orders already for everybody else.
Oh my
and
God.
I don't even know what we're going to taste yet. So that's another thing. But, no, I would start there because you can't miss with bubbles, and her sparkling wines are out of this world.
I call her the mother of sparkling in Texas.
She is 100%. And like, I'll tell you, like, Chris here at Edge of Lake, has a fantastic carbonated Viognier.
Uh-huh.
And one thing is, like, nobody's ever had a carbonated Viognier anywhere. And it's fantastic. But, traditional method, sparkling Chardonnay that she has, the 23, I gave that a gold medal, one of my JG Does Wine gold medals. And it is, just forget about it, right?
It's not your typical spark.
No.
It's more of that, instead of the poppy, the fizzy, sparkling, it's more of like a little sea foam
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit of that, where you can really taste the Chardonnay grape
For sure.
on there, and it hasn't really been oaked in anything, which I think she has.
So what I love about that wine is I feel like anything with too much sugar, I get dehydrated very quickly,
Yes.
right? So it actually has a lot of sugar. It's 11
Really?
grams per liter. Wow. Yes. And for that to be 11 grams per liter, and I like it that much, I got another exception to the rule.
Yes.
Right? So if you're doing it that well like that, and I don't like it like that, you're doing something special.
Well,
And that's the way I look at it.
I will have to say, when Elise brought in the whole equipment in from Champagne, France, and did it, and I remember when she was telling me about it, she was going to do this, and I'm like, wow, okay. And then all of a sudden, she did the sparkling rosé Pinot Noir, and I had a glass of that, and I'm like, holy crap! And the next thing you know, then you've got Great Creek now buying into one. Then you got William Chris buying into one, and then there was somebody else is buying into one now.
So Invention has the one for all of the Heath brands. And
Okay.
we actually did the tour back in January.
Okay,
They have this new multi-million-dollar facility, man, and they spent the money.
yeah.
So we did the tour. Good luck to them. Like that's a lot of money. That's a big expenditure
Well,
for sure.
And they just got themselves a big property.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
Yeah.
picked up Coleman Cellars as well. And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They got a big thing. And we were trying to go down on the 18th. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, the 11th. But again, stuff in life is happening,
get it,
and
I get
we
it.
can't make. We're going to get down there. We're going to do a big episode with them because it's going to be a big thing with them. But yeah, she loves her Lisa Christopher sparkling. I introduced it to her, and she is falling in love with that. So
Yeah, and I've never had bad wine out of a tasting room that small. It doesn't matter if it's Virginia, Texas, anywhere,
Uh-huh.
right? Like if somebody's like, when I pulled up, I remember when I pulled up, I said, this is going to be one of the best stops on this
Uh-huh.
trip. I could tell by the size of the tasting room because I've never had bad wine out of a tasting room that small.
Well, like I said, I kind of fell in love with Tonight. And the day we were there was the last day for their case sale for Tonight. And we get ready to check out. And Elise says, I'll be right back for the case. And I'm like, what did you buy? She goes, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And she bought me a case of her Tonight because I love her Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have, 6 bottles left of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very selective. Very selective.
No, but going back to, what other places I would suggest,
yes.
I would definitely, I would go a little off the kind of the beaten path. I would say Tatum Cellars. Josh is making wine
Oh,
for
my gosh.
Spicewood. He's making for Ron Yates, but his own little line. He's got this Trois de Trois. I can't say it. I'm not French. I'm going to try.
Oh my God.
But it has this beautiful perfume.
Uh-huh.
Like you could kind of dab it and you could put it on your,
I
you're
told them the
female.
exact
you
same
can-
thing.
Yes, 100%. You can get it. Like it is the most elegant
Oh my
Texas
gosh.
wine I
Yes.
think I've ever had.
Yes. I remember the first time I went into Tatum Cellars. Walked in, and he had the old Pioneer radio with the turntable on top of it, with the old speakers on top.
Mhm.
And he was playing Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machines on vinyl. And I'm like, we're going to get along. But Josh is an amazing winemaker. He introduced me to also stirring the lees, also on the
Yep.
wine. And I'm like, I was always told you don't disturb the lees.
No.
And
Shake them up.
and when he said you stir the leaves up, I'm like, okay. And I've actually kind of experimented that into my mead and my beer making now.
Okay.
So we can talk. That's
And, well, I'll tell you a funny thing about that is if you like Siboney, So the reason they have the honeycomb holders for their barrels is so they can turn them to stir the lees. Bet you didn't know that.
Well, when I went through that episode, he actually told me they use that to turn it to actually get access to the barrels when they need it.
Well, that too.
He didn't tell me he was using it to stir the lees
that way.
Dang, that
For
Miguel,
sure.
Barbara. I'm going to hit them up on that one. Oh my gosh. So as a blogger, I've never blogged. I've always done a podcast. But I do appreciate the people who take the time and actually blog, because you have to be meticulous about what you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
But as a blogger, what makes you decide a winery or wine is worth writing about?
So that's a good question. There's always a difficult place, right? It's when I first started, I was kind of blogging to complain because my first hill country trip was so awful.
Okay.
I would say it's like 80% awful.
Okay.
And it was kind of the thought process was like Frank Costanza at Festivus is like, I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it, right? Like, so that was kind of my thought process. And then Simone happened at the end, and it's like, wait a minute. That was my question was, is Texas wine good?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was such a big question. And I was like, maybe I need to blog about this. And that's kind of how it all started. But, the way I looked at it from the beginning was, I'm just this outsider. And I felt like because I was an outsider, because I didn't have any connections, I could tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I've ruffled some feathers along the way because I'm just telling the truth.
Right.
And the funny thing about it is that Drink North Texas, there's a lot of people that came up to me and said, I know exactly how you feel, because I'd written a post where it was like, I'm in this weird situation where I'm getting connections and it's like, I don't know how far I need to go. And then it was like, well, maybe I just need to continue to be who I am, right? Because a lot of people are so scared to tell it how it is, right? We're back to that whole, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find that prince. And it's like, I got to be me, and it's like, man, I'm a combat vet. Nobody's gonna shake me down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to shake me down. You're not, your opinion is, and I'm also like, I just started this blog. I lost my whole social media last year. If you're offended by me, you have no business even sending wines to the world stage.
Right.
It's like, I've got 1,500 to 2,000 people read my blog every time I post. Mm-hmm. Like, if I've offended you, you need to get some thicker skin, man. Right. And that's kind of what I realized recently is like, you just got to toughen up. Right. Like, if you want to be on the world stage, it's time to toughen up. Yeah. Put your big boy pants on or big girl pants on and do it. Right. Right. But that's also why I created the medals. It's like, if I'm going to be critical, I want something to say, hey, this medal, you're doing a fantastic job. That's why I created these medals, and they weren't cheap. Right? They weren't cheap, but it was my way of saying I can be critical, but I can be fair.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I've tried to bridge. Some people are okay with it. I would say most people. Some people aren't. But I will say a lot of people are arguing in group chats about how many medals they have. So that's a little bit funny. And that's something I found out recently is that like, hey, I got this many, or hey, I got this many. I'll tell you when we were taking pictures here when I gave Chris his medal for the carbonated Viognier. And I just did it for a picture. And Chris was like, where you going? Because, my wife kind of put it on. I took the picture and she put it in her purse because he's got a whole like shelf dedicated to me. And it's like, he didn't have enough room for the Viognier. So I didn't think he wanted it. He's like, where you going? I want that medal. That's been a kind of a funny, it's like when I first started, I was scared to death to award a medal. I was like, I'm a big wrestling fan. And one of the biggest fears of wrestling was somebody's going to take their belt from the other company and throw it in the trash. And I was like, yeah, somebody's going to pull this thing off. They're going to throw it in the trash. It's like, I wasted X amount of dollars on this. What am I doing? And then everyone kind of worked out, right? And it was like, wow, this really meant a lot to people.
Right. Well, getting a medal from the professional sector of wine versus a medal from a non-professional. And you and I, we're not this big world class.
We're not getting paid.
Yeah, we're
So
not getting paid for this. We're not
for sure.
professionals. So getting an award like that,
Yeah.
that is something, you know. That's saying this is what the people selected.
Yes.
This is not what the professionals selected. And I've always, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Grapevine real quick. So, you know, Grapevine has Grape Fest and they had the People's Choice tent. You know, I think that is where a lot of judging should happen, even though I have my opinion about this as well. And I've already shared this with Grapevine and we're talking. They put everybody in alphabetical order. So you get people that start on the very far end and the very other end. And then when they congregate in the middle, people are drunk and they're like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing in the world. and at that point, you're like, okay, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know? And so I've given them some ideas about changing it up to make it a little bit more even keel across the board,
sure.
you know? Because I think the public's opinion on a wine is more important personally than a professional. I mean, it is important to have a professional because then that dictates that your wine is good. But having a individual that is not a professional wine drinker come in here and try your wine and rate it, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you're going to get notoriety from. That's where you're going to get more people coming in.
For sure. And you know, I'll say this about, cause I wrote about this in the decanter stuff is like, you know, we've gotten to the point where we're doing too much, right? Did we really need a platinum medal? Right? Like that's kind of something I wrote about. It's like, you know, when 4 points is the difference between 3 different medals, we've lost the plot.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
And, you know, I'm big on, you know, there's a certain number. Like, again, I don't give out 95 plus. If you're a 92, 93, you're a really fantastic wine.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at with the gold medal stuff. Is like, you're a 93 and you are good in my book. And that's kind of the way I look at it. It's like 95 points, 96 points. And especially when it's really built upon a bureaucratic system that doesn't really make sense.
Right.
It's like, okay, so it's about promotion, but if one medal's not promoted enough, it gets demoted. Like, how does this work?
Right.
You know, it doesn't make sense. Well,
Makes sense.
it's analysis paralysis. We've overthought the process and none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
And to kind of segue, you know, right now, everyone's talking about how, you know, the wine industry needs to change.
Yes.
Because we have to get these younger folks interested in wine.
Yes.
But nobody's saying decanter needs to change. Texom needs to change, right? These medals are marketing arms of the wineries.
Right.
And if they continue to have the same snobbery, it doesn't matter what the winery does.
Correct.
So until they can become people of the people, it won't help the wineries. It won't matter.
Yes, I 100% agree on that one. I love that. I love he does that. People are watching and listening. He's got facts here. All right, so let's do a little. Let's kind of change from the serious. Let's do a little fun stuff here.
Sure.
So for me personally, when I pull a bottle of wine out of the rack, I always remember that bottle of wine, where it came from, what the experience was, X, Y, Z. So give me your top 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to do, wines that you enjoy, that you like when you pull it off the shelf, you can remember everything about you drinking that bottle of wine.
Okay.
I'm
going to go Virginia.
I'll share.
I'm going to go Virginia.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, go ahead.
So, the 2023 Shenandoah Valley Cab Franc from Early Mountain Vineyards. It doesn't matter if it's Early Mountain Vineyards. It doesn't matter if it's Gabriele Rousey, who's the godfather of Virginia wine. That's what they call him. It's the fruit from Bear Ridge. Okay. It's 1,800 feet elevation, and you can taste it. As it doesn't matter who buys the fruit, because they don't make their own wine. Doesn't matter who buys the fruit, but there is, if you've ever had Hollandaise, tarragon, right? Okay. You can smell the tarragon right off the rip, and it is the most beautiful Cab Franc you will ever have in your life. Okay. And there's just nothing else that measures that for me.
Okay. Well, then that makes me not feel so bad, because the first time I actually tried an iced wine is from a Canadian winery. It starts with a P, and I'm drawing a blank of the name of it, but he was here at Grape Fest last year. and I did an episode with him. And he goes, I'll bring you a bottle.
Mhm.
So he brings it to me, nice and cold and stuff. And he poured us a little glass of it. And I'm like, literally, I can hear the angels coming out. I mean, I'm not a big sweet wine drinker, but
Mhm.
this Cab Franc was out of this world.
Yes.
And they literally do not pick their Cab Francs until late October.
Mhm.
And then they have a big hydraulic press because the grapes are frozen to the seed, to use a hydraulic press to press the juices off of it. And I had a friend that lives in Virginia also, actually.
Okay.
He went across the border and bought me a bottle and brought it back for me for Christmas.
Nice.
I still have the bottle because it was in a really nice presentation. It was a big box that was magnetic that closed
Mhm,
itself.
mhm.
I'm not throwing that thing away. I'm going to drink it. We actually drank it. Man, I'm going to say that Cab Franc is an iced wine out of this world.
Interesting.
Out of this world. So, all right. Sorry.
Very, very interesting.
Because you talked about Virginia, I'm going to talk about Canada there.
No,
on that
that's
one.
fine. That's fine. But I'll actually say, and only because I had it a couple days ago, and I think it's as close to that, like, because that Cab Franc, like, I will take that Cab, like, I'm a Petite Verdot guy. Like, I love Virginia Cab Franc. I think it's the best in the world, but I'm a Petite Verdot guy. So, like, it's very weird that there is a Texas wine that I'm like, man, this is as close to what I'm looking for for like a Virginia Cab Franc. And it's the Sandy Road Marcelon.
Have you had their Picudo?
Yes, Prieto Picudo.
Oh.
Yes, I have. It's very good too. It's very good
Okay,
too.
sorry, I had to
So,
fill that one
for
in there.
sure. But the Marcelon is
Oh.
literally, so it's a hybrid grape.
Mhm.
It's the Cabernet Sauvignon. It's the Grenache. But it is the 100% best of both worlds, right? That spicy, peppery nose, but then that fruit and it's just beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
But that is what I'm looking for in a Cab Franc.
Yes.
Is
Okay.
literally that.
Nice.
And it's
Okay.
like, man, that's as close as it gets.
Yeah.
So I would say like Bear Ridge, Cab Franc, Shenandoah Valley, but then right behind it is that Sandy Road Marcelon. And you know, I argued for it. I haven't tried the 22. I hope on this next trip that I can go try the 22 versus the 23, because the 22 didn't do so hot at Decanter or Texon.
Yeah.
I want to know if they got it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation I've had with Brian.
Mhm.
Was we kind of had a heated conversation. I was like, look, man, I don't trust other people's judging.
Yeah.
And I explained that recently with the Decanter Awards.
Right.
And it got very heated, but he
Right.
was like, okay,
It's-
and we kind
but
of moved
it's
on.
fair.
But yeah.
Well, you know, my first interaction with a good Sandy Road wine
Mhm.
was I was doing the Lone Star wine competition last year.
Okay.
And they brought out the Pinot Noir, and there was one wine over here. I looked at that and I'm like, that's not a Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
I said, that's got to be something else. And so I tasted it and I'm like, holy crap, I want this bottle. Like, I really, really wanted this bottle. So I took the number down it was placed on. And after the competition, they told me that was a Prieto Picudo from Sandy Road.
Yep.
Well, that vintage, I did not get a bottle of that
Oh.
because I couldn't make it down there. I couldn't make it there quick enough. But the following year, I told Becca about it. And so we went down there and we were doing their, I can't remember what Cooperage was there. They were doing an event there. And so we got there a little bit early and we sat outside and had a pizza and had a Prieto Picudo.
Mhm.
And we drank one that day. We came back on Friday and had another one. I think we even went back on Saturday and had another one and then bought a half a case.
For sure.
But I mean, and for them to be the only winery or the vineyard in the United States growing that, that's what I've been told, that they're the only ones right now growing that. So
I believe it because I do know, because I did the research for my blog post. There were 40 submissions to Decanter for Marcelon.
Mhm.
28 of them were from China. The only one from the US was Sandy Road. So my thought process is they got it wrong, period. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because one of the things, and I fight this all the time, is this is what this specific wine should taste like. But okay, well, what happens if there's a crazy vintage variation year? Are you telling me it's not good because it doesn't taste like this?
Mhm.
Like that doesn't make sense to me.
well, and there's a lot of when it comes to harvesting and making your wine, let's just say just making the wine,
Sure.
it's all about timing of harvest. It's all about processing with the right yeast. It's about, adding the right amount of SO2, the right TA to it, and aging it properly. And if one of those things is out of whack, it can make it a great wine to a bad wine.
Well, you're exactly right. And I'll actually go a little bit further. And this is probably going to really get some people upset because it's a little political, but like, if we have this thought process in the wine industry of like, okay, if it comes from Bordeaux, this is what it has to taste like, right? So if climate change is as bad as everyone says, that shouldn't be correct today, right?
Correct. Well, I think, okay, we're both getting on soapboxes now, so we're going to get on it for just a little bit. I'm okay of having a Bordeaux style wine.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. If we want to use a Cab Sauv or Merlot to make our Bordeaux, that's fine. But don't make it taste like it.
Okay.
Keep it Texas. Get your blends together, put it all together. If it's a right bank, left bank, make it that strong one, and then give it complement of grapes underneath it. Don't try to make it a Bordeaux.
That's a really good suggestion because it's not going to, like, especially if somebody's going to expect Bordeaux flavors, because it's not going to be the same. If it's Texas grape, it's not going to be that.
Right.
So if the expectation, oh, this is your Bordeaux blend, like, you shouldn't call it that.
Right.
You should just say that this is our whatever blend, and don't let people assume, because if they assume and it doesn't taste like what they're used to, they're going to say this is not good.
Yeah.
And that may not actually be the case.
I mean, it can be Bordeaux because you're using the grapes from Bordeaux, but make it a Texas Bordeaux.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Call it something else for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because there's some good stuff that's out there where just when you label it, power suggestion, when you label it, people are going to expect it to taste that way.
Yeah.
And that's something we need to get us as humans over that hump.
Yes.
That will never happen. So
I agree.
So what okay, so now let's talk Texas wines. What other kind of wines that you've drank that just like you had that, wow, I remember this wine when I got it from this winery, or the experience that I had, whatever.
So it's two. And I'm not a big fan of Petite Syrah. Typically, it's going to be very meaty, right? You're going to get a lot of tertiary flavors. Yeah, it's just not my flavor profile. I want to taste fruit. But the 2023 Siboney Petite Syrah, which is from, well, they call it the Hoover Valley Vineyard, which is Uplift. So it was before, the name changed.
Yes.
But also the 2024 Eliza Christopher Petite Syrah from Nara Vineyards.
Yes.
They taste exactly the same, and I don't know how they did it. But if you were to blind me on those two wines and tell me it was like a French Merlot, I would believe you. They are fantastic. And they both got my JG Does Wine Gold medals. They are fantastic. Like, those were some of the highlights of our last Hill Country trip.
Okay.
Was they both were just outrageous.
Nice. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to do it on camera also. There's one winery you need to go check out. It's over by Brady. It's Wines for Dotson.
Okay.
You need to go check. First off, he used to be an ex-Raiders football player.
Okay.
And he makes some amazing wines. In fact, actually, he was listed as Twigga's Winemaker of the Year like 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I got to interview him and Don Pullman before he passed away.
Okay.
And we were sitting there talking, and Alfonso is his name. I'm trying to remember his name. Alfonso is his name. And he actually did a lot of unconventional ways of making wine. Like, he would actually age his white wine on the grapes. And Don will come in there and say, Alfonso, you can't do that. And he goes, these are my grapes. You don't tell me what to do with them. But you know what? He has some amazing wines. So the next trip down the Hill Country, you need to put that on your schedule. Okay. Because the man he's up in age. And so you need to make your effort to get out there if you can.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough. He will be well worth your visit. Plus he'll sign your bottles for you also. And I'm going to say this. This is an ode to my mom. When we met him, he actually thought my mom was my date.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. I'm saying, Alphonse, this is my mom. And he's like, oh, well, she's too beautiful to be your mom.
Nice call, right?
Oh my
Nice
gosh,
call.
man. And,
Nice
you
call.
know, that's a whole different story. We're not even going to talk
For
about
sure.
that. But you need to go check out Wines for Gods. It's out by Brady. It's a little hike,
Mhm.
but you need to go check him out.
For sure.
You will love his stuff. The man is amazing. I'm highly recommend him 100%
Mhm.
on your next trip.
Okay.
Looking ahead, because great conversation. We could keep on going. Looking ahead, where do you see Texas wine industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's really up to the people that are in the high positions. I'll tell you, I got very disillusioned with Virginia wine because of the people who were in charge of the associations, and they just didn't really seem to care. You know, I offered my services. Hey, the next Texom, I'd be glad to. I'm already here.
Right.
I know all about the wine. I drink all the wine. I'm a wine club member at 6 different Virginia wineries. Like I have, you know, and we tried 600 plus Virginia wines last year, and nobody could give me a courtesy email back. Right. So not a response. And that was actually, I didn't make the original email.
Mhm.
It was actually from a winery that was part of the association. Wow. One of the owners. So, you know, I think some of the things in the last couple months that I've realized is there's some big time Texas wine politics. And I think that will be the deciding factor of how big this becomes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Texas needs to realize that they just got their first decanter gold medals. They just showed up this year. That's a consistent thing that has to happen, but you're still a very small fish, regardless of what the state is doing, right? Because at the end of the day, Texas wine is less than 0.5% of total U.S. production, right? And you're on that Virginia level. And the scary thing is Virginia has the same population as the Metroplex, DFW Metroplex, and they're supporting 400 wineries. We have 700 here with a massive difference in population, right? So you have to figure out, is your ego going to get in the way of really making this thing happen? Because I'll tell you, I've already seen the egos, and it's like, I'm just a blogger who just ruffling some feathers here and there. And I don't mean it. I'm just being honest, right?
You know, so I'm going to do a quick compare between Texas and California. So there's a podcast that I've started enjoying, and I had to stop listening because it was a couple of winemakers and then a guy that just enjoyed California wine. And they were talking about how negative, and they would fight amongst each other in California, the different wineries and stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm so glad that Texas doesn't do that. And then I actually had to stop. Yeah. Because we have Texas Wine and Grape Growers Association. We got the Hill Country Wine Symposium. And that came about because these people over here didn't like what Twiga stood for.
Yep.
And Twiga didn't like what stood over here. In the end, we all need to come together. And we said, we're in this end together. We're not in it against each other. And we need to come together and see what's the greater good for the Texas wine industry. I know sometimes the bigger wineries want it for themselves, but they also need to look at the small ones because the small ones will keep the big ones going. It's a feeder chain.
So I'll tell you this. I think,
and I may actually ruffle some feathers on what I just said there too.
No, for sure. But I'll tell you, I wrote a blog post very recently, this is about a month ago, where I said, you know, the best Texas wine is not the most popular. And I don't think the big producers are the ones with the best wine. You know, they're the ones with the commercial grapes, and they're making 100,000 cases a year. Right. And it's not good wine. And just because they're the bigger names and they have the money for the promotional, and they can send a couple cases to James Suckling and pay the fee, right? Like that's the thing. It's like, hey, we got a 95 points from James Suckling. Great. That means you gave him a case of wine and you paid the fee. Right. Everyone's not interested in doing that. Right. So like, how legit is the James Suckling number? Because if you're in the wine industry, it's like, okay. Right. And it's like, you go to some of these places in the hill country. It's like, yeah, James Suckling gave us 89 points. It's like, you paid the fee, you gave him a case of wine, and he only gave you 89 points. That's not something I would be proud of. Right. And there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And, so that's why, it's another reason why I came up with my own medals. It's like, I'm doing my own thing and I'm okay with it, but I'm okay with telling the truth. And the bigger producers are not making the best wine. And that's true for most places, to be honest with you, right? Like, nobody wants the commercially grown grapes, right? If you want that, you can go to the grocery store. Right? Yeah. That's not what we want. That's not what the real wine drinkers want. Yeah. So,
well, you know,
back to what you were saying earlier. Sorry, I'm going to talk a little loud, so
You're okay.
microphones are picking up. But the smallest tasting rooms
yes.
has the best wine.
Yes.
Lisa Christopher, like, I think
That room
she
is the tasting room is about the size of this room we're in right now.
it's a little smaller.
You know, and to see them go from such a small place, and then you start to have the Christy and Andrews that have now expanded 4 different times, and see them grow, and it's all because they put their money where their mouth is.
That's right. Literally.
And they make people wine that they know that people will love.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets them to keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do they have that great wine, but they have that great atmosphere, the great communication skills, the great, let's just sit down and have a one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's where a lot of these big box wine retailers and wineries, that's what they're missing. But it is nice to see the small little wineries start to grow because of all
intimacy.
And I don't, I'm probably going to get you some flack on this, but I'm going to be 100. You know, our first Hill Country stop was Great Creek, right? And they will pour you wines until you say yes to their wine club. And it's not good wine. It's not good wine. And they're part of a larger Heath Brands, right? And it's an awful experience. It's like they don't want you to leave out the door and they're beating you over the head. Got to join our wine club. That way you can sit on the patio. We'll let you sit down. We'll let you eat in the restaurant. It's like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. But you know what? At 8:00, when it's time to close at Lonesome Vine, that's when the party's just getting started, right? Like, that is a different experience.
I don't know what you're talking about at all. I have no clue at all.
And he's like, just so you know, they close shortly after we get there, but we're not going to go.
I will tell you, there's been many nights that me and Christy and Andrew sit on the patio, drinking wine, talking about life, and I leave 11, 12 o'clock at night, and had an hour and a half drive all the way back home. And
once he pulls out the periodic table of wine,
oh my gosh. Did Andrew do that for you?
Yes.
Oh my God. When did that man, him and I started geeking out of that thing. She actually bought me one. That's still not framed yet, but
yeah, we were talking about Cab Franc and he brought it out. And he's like, yeah, it's supposed to be green pepper on there.
Oh my God.
No, but seriously, like our last visit, and you said you visited like a few days after we were there.
Yes.
And, we dropped off our medals because it was kind of a weird situation where it's like, it took me a long time to get my medals. And I loved her Picpoul Blanc. And I thought like, that was the thing. It was like, Christy, this is a gold medal wine. And she says, really? Are you sure?
I told her that
I said,
too.
Christy, this is a gold medal wine.
Yes.
And then after that conversation, I said, I'm making my own medals. I'm doing my own thing because she deserves it.
Yeah.
And then the next, we did a hill country trip. We did all this stuff and I couldn't get there. And by the time we got there, it's like, I'm sitting there drinking the Old Ranger and the Feisty Gentleman for like the 5th time already. And I'm like, these deserve it too.
Yeah.
And so we dropped off medals and we took pictures and we did all these things. And, I think the closing time was actually 7, but, like 7:30, like, yeah, we got to head home. It's a good hour and 15 minutes home. And Christy's like, are you sure?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, are you sure you want to go? It's like, no, we don't want to go. But
well, every time I go out there, or let me rephrase it, we go out there. Well, even before me and Becca met, I always brought them a bottle of wine from somewhere else.
Sure.
Because they can't get away as easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want them to experience other wines so they can know what it tastes like. Now, you and I are going to have to get together one day outside of this. And Abastris
Yes.
has Arion and Lonesome Vine has Smitten. The only difference between those two great wines is literally Syrah and Petit Syrah. Like literally, and I will get a bottle of it. I have both bottles. I will get a bottle of it. I will blind them together and let you try to pick which one is the lowest of mine. I did that with them, and they couldn't even pick their own.
Really?
Yeah, and they actually picked the Abastus because that actually I think had the Petit Syrah in it.
Okay.
And theirs had the Syrah in it. And it was that one grape, and literally the percentage on both of them were exactly the same.
Interesting.
We're gonna get on a whole tangent on that. So,
Oh, for sure.
but back to what you were saying. One of the things that now Rusty over here at Breaking
Bud. Yeah.
I did an episode with him, and he actually said something that has stuck with me. And they said Texas, North Texas, and some hill country off that we have what's called a cooperation environment. We cooperate with each other. We help each other when they need. Oh, you need to borrow my tractor. You need to borrow my bottler. You need to borrow a tank, whatever. They will help you, but at the same time, you're in competition with each other because all three of us in this room here can get the same grape varietal and make 3 different wines. And so that's what I love about Texas. All right, well, let's do something fun real quick before we end this. All right, so we're going to do some rapid fire questions. Don't even think, you just respond, okay? Red, white, or rosé?
Ooh.
Can't think
All the
about
above.
Okay, sweet or dry?
Dry.
Favorite Texas grape? You're thinking about it.
Marcelon.
Okay. One. Best winery view in Texas. View, not wine, but winery view in Texas.
Edge of the lake.
Favorite. That was for you, Chris. Favorite food pairing with Texas wine?
I just had it this weekend, a Chipotle cherry barbecue sauce on ribs with the Marcelon from Sandy Road.
Dang. Okay, last one. One Texas winery everyone should visit at least once.
Siboney.
There we go. All right. So last question for you. Where can listeners follow your wine adventures and keep up with your latest recommendations?
I'm at JG Does Wine on Instagram and Substack.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start closing the show here. So real quick before we close the show, because we always do wine quotes at the end of this. So I used to get online, find wine quotes. And I started running out because some of them got really in depth and complicated. And I'm sorry, if I don't understand it, then my listeners are not going to listen to it sometimes. So I actually started spitting it to Chat GPT and said, give me some Texas wine quotes. And man, it would spit me out some great stuff. And then some of them were like, but I've got a list of them here. I'm just going to grab a couple of them at the end, but I want to hit my sponsors right quick. So my very first sponsor is Texas Wine Lover. Also a great resource to find these Texas wineries that we're sitting here talking about. You can get online. You can download the app on your phone. In fact, actually, you can get online and actually plan a trip out. Find out what kind of wineries you're looking for from, if you're looking for something that's pet friendly, if you need handicap, whatever. Great little resource, and you can get it to your app on your phone and actually use that to map your trips out. Great little app. Jeff has done an amazing job on that. I love talking to Jeff about it and give him a hard time. But Jeff is great. I love Jeff. And then also my other one is Eric at Old Line Texas down in Mansfield, which you need to check them out.
Yes.
And you need to check out Burning Daylight. Burning Daylight also used to do grapes for Lost Oak.
Okay.
We'll talk about that one later. But Eric has a great resource of hill country wines. As you and I know, going down the hill country is an 8-hour trip, 4 hours there, 4 hours back. And then you got to get a hotel room and you got to pay for food and yada, yada, yada. Well, some people don't want to do that.
Sure.
So what Eric has done is he's curated some of the best highlighted hill country wines, brought up here to Mansfield, make Mansfield in 45 minutes, depending on where you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And you could drink some of the best hill country wines. I know he's working on an expansion pretty soon. And so he's going to be able to offer more than what he's got. I think he offers like 15 different wineries. He's wanting to offer like 40. And what he wants to do is do a region-based tasting. So he wants to do wines from the hill country and the high plains and North Texas and East Texas and South Texas. So that way you can sit there and drink different parts of Texas without leaving the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So Eric has done a great job. He's one of my favorite sponsors. So with all that being said, now we're going to get to the quotes. I hope you love these quotes because I just want to randomly pick something out of here. So my doctor said once, Texas wine. I may have misheard. That doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah, I don't either. We'll choose another. We'll make up for that one. It's not a day drinking when it's wine education in Texas.
Okay.
Fair? I don't need an excuse. I have Texas wine. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, okay, we'll give one more. Okay, this is because I relate to this one. I run on coffee, Texas wines, and very questionable decisions.
That's accurate. That's accurate. That's accurate.
That one's definitely accurate for me and
Yes.
Becca. So, this is Will,
Jesse.
and this is We Know Texas Vino. Cheers.
Cheers.